Hello, everyone. Welcome, episode 3 of Argam Talks. I'm pleased to have our guest today, Kevin Wu from Leaping AI, one of the thought leaders and one of the great contributors to the voice AI space. So, Kevin, thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So let's start off. Let's talk a little bit about you. One, more specifically, what your background is and how you got into the voice AI sector, and then just a little bit about Leaping.
So yeah, I'm the CEO of Leaping AI. At Leaping AI, we automate call center calls with digital workers. The use cases we serve are customer service, appointment scheduling, and lead qualification. So we recently had some really exciting go lives and launches. For example, we just launched with a top 3 airline in Germany and are handling their customer service calls. So people calling in and you're like, how can I help you? Give me your booking number. And helping them answer questions like, hey, my flight is coming up. Can I bring my dog? Right. And then you're just pinging the knowledge base and trying to help them or routing the call to a human worker.
Yeah.
One of the more successful case studies we have in the United States is a home remodeling company called Thompson Creek. We're doing inbound appointment scheduling calls, and we're able to optimize their call center productivity by over 75% and also their cost structure, whilst taking over all their inbound calls and also improving the appointment set rate from about by 7% essentially to a
So
very high
how
figure
did you
now.
how did you get into voice AI, creating voice agents?
Yeah, I'll explain that next. So essentially, I am a computer scientist. I grew up in Germany, and I studied computer science. Afterwards, I went to into management consulting. I worked at the Boston Consulting Group as a consultant for strategy consultant for 3 years. And towards the end of my time, I was part of the Gen AI task force, and we're looking at different technologies and their impact on different industries. And one recurring theme is that customer service will be fundamentally revolutionized by Gen AI technologies, right? And so I saw a concrete opportunity. I at the same time got connected to one of the largest like wine retailers in Germany, and they had
Mm.
a call center with over 100 people, right? So there was like a very specific business opportunity. Plus, I had some high level business analysis insights from my time at BCG, which led me to like starting this company. Yeah.
I see. I see. So talk me through. You got the idea. Did you create your first voice agent? How did you create it? Did you use one of these out of the box
Yeah.
tools, non dev, like the no code platforms, or did you use an open source like a Pipecat, LiveKit? How did
So
you
we
go
started
about
two
it?
years ago. So we are not on Pipecat or LiveKit. Instead, we
Yeah.
used the open source like framework from
Uh
two
huh.
years ago that doesn't exist anymore. But like we took that and like have since developed it further internally, right? So now we have more lines of code than that originally had. And so we started off with an open source framework, and now it's kind of our own stack. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of setting up the first few clients you had or the clients you have right now, what's the thought process you go through? How do you engage and come up with what personality and how that agent is going to perform?
Yeah. So we're able to clone voices, right? So typically we ask our clients like, hey, do you have a top performing sales rep or like a customer support rep and whose voice you like, right? We take that person's voice and then we have the AI agent speak in that tone. At this point, we have a lot of experience setting up these agents. So once a client sends us their script, like what the human workers follow, right, we're able to very quickly spin up like a digital worker version of that.
I see. And what's some challenges you're facing with the current models, and how do you overcome it? So, for example, if you're getting someone who is on the line and making the call last longer than it is,
Yeah.
or for example, if you have accents, uh, how are you handling all of those? Walk me through like one or two major challenges you've had and how you solved them, and how you went about solving
So
them.
a major challenge is essentially capturing certain piece of information reliably, like email addresses, right? Which are just not like you just can't reliably transcribe email addresses right now in the industry. And I think all the players in the space are facing the same problem, then I think that the voices are good, like the current voice. So we're an orchestration layer, right? So we use text to speech models from providers like OpenAI, from 11 Labs, Strategia, and stuff like that. And they're already very good, but they're not as good as a human, I would say, right? And so just challenges like people detecting that it's AI, and then if you're unlucky, hanging up the call, right? Yeah.
So you're saying, like, for example, email address recognition is a problem. So
Yeah.
you're saying that you can't do anything about that, or you're saying
No,
like
we can. It's
Cartesia
just a it's
handles
just a
it?
challenge. It's just difficult, and it doesn't. It most of the times doesn't work reliably.
Yeah. So how are you going about, like, are you just relying on the third parties to eventually solve it, or how would other people in creating voice agents go about this?
It's very hard. I'm not sure there is a way to solve it. So the way we solve it right now is we just don't ask for the email address of the customer. We ask for their
I
phone
see.
number or their customer number. It's
And then
sad, but it's true.
how did you find out that that was a problem? Like, how did you
I
go
mean,
about?
we everybody would like to ask for an email address, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So my email address is like blah 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 dot blah 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 at blah 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 dot blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
So having the names transcribed correctly, knowing that dot is like full stop instead of like the word dot, and then you have underscore and hyphens and stuff like that, it's just very challenging.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into a specific use case and talk through a couple things. So you're going into the home improvement field, and I think that's
Yes.
one of the key areas you're focusing on. Talk me through, one, how you identified that opportunity, why you think that was an interesting case, and then two, talk me through what are the agents you created and what services that does it actually service? Like, what is it for? How will do? And then
Yeah.
thirdly, I'm going to follow up and think through this as you're saying the answer. What are the success metrics for that industry that are specific to voice AI that necessarily wouldn't apply to a human agent or a human representative?
Yeah, so essentially, we got into this space by accident. So we did Y Combinator, and we did a launch, and our first company that we serve in the space approached us. So they approached us, right? So how it works is, a home remodeling company usually has a website where they have a phone number. You call that phone number to schedule an appointment, right? So previously, that company specifically did that with more than 30 call center employees, right? And basically, you pick up the phone, you identify where people live, you ask them some qualifying questions, then you help them schedule an appointment, essentially. And so our AI agent is now doing all of these things after hours and also in the office hours, and was able to do 50% of those calls with no human handover, meaning 50% autonomously. And so the success metric is that essentially their productivity improved by more than 50%. And also, we found that AI does a better job in these calls because it sticks to the script, right? It's not a sales script. You just help people like do something. You pick up right away. So that's how we're able to um, increase the appointment set rate by 7%. There is a second interesting use case that we also started tackling, which is people can fill out a form on the website, right, to be contacted essentially.
Yeah.
So right now we have an outbound digital worker that calls these people 5 seconds later and also tries to schedule an appointment, right? And our conversion rate is actually higher than with humans because we're calling after 5 seconds and not after 2 hours. Because what's
Mm,
very specific in home improvement, home remodeling, is that let's say you need like a kitchen remodeling. You will Google some stuff and you will enter your information into different vendors, right?
yeah.
Of home improvement
Or
softwares.
You do the Yelp and it sends it to like 15 people.
And then that yeah, and then 20 different companies are calling you, right?
Yeah.
And whoever calls you first kind of wins, right? Because like after maybe the fourth one, you're like not going to be accepting any calls
Yeah.
anymore. And so as a home improvement company, you want to contact them as fast as possible, right? And some companies are already doing that within like seconds, right? But it's very human intensive to have someone on staff all the time. And so why not just let the digital worker do the first pass of contacting these homeowners, trying to schedule an appointment? If that for any reason doesn't work or the person could be reached, you could still have humans doing the same thing like 20 minutes later or 1 hour later, but you
Yeah.
have AI do the first pass.
So if let's go down this route of a kitchen remodeling company. So I'm a kitchen remodeling company. I have a website, I have a Yelp page,
Yeah.
and I want to go into voice AI. And I've been reading about it. I got a couple emails about it. There's a voice AI agency that's reaching out to me. They said they've made some voice agents. I got an email from Retell saying that I can do it on my own using their product. I got another one from Synthflow, and then I heard about Leaping, and I heard about another company. What essentially makes these five different companies creating voice agents different?
So in that specific case, we have deep expertise in like appointment scheduling for home remodeling, right? And we will actually give you a forward deployed engineer. Most home remodeling companies, they're like the founder is still the business owner, right? And they
Correct.
don't have technical expertise to like set up AI agents or workflows. They come from a background of installing Windows in homes, right? They don't know how to uh like optimize the uploading of a knowledge base, right, and extracting information from that. So while they're interested in AI, they don't necessarily want to be in the nitty gritty of setting up the AI, right? And that's where our expertise can actually help them. So in terms of build versus buy, right, I would actually go with someone like us that has a platform, but in that specific case can also help these companies to set it up.
Yeah, it makes sense. But specifically, I don't think you answer the question in terms of like what's different technically between
Yeah.
those five different choices. Is there
So
something
yeah,
that
that
is,
wasn't your question. That's a different
yeah,
question. So
yeah, it
in
was part
terms,
of the question, you know? I said,
yeah,
what essentially makes each of those companies different, right?
yeah,
So each of those choices is different, I think, both technically and from a customer service standpoint.
yes. So from a technical perspective, we have several advanced features that I think are quite nice. So we, for example, have we support speech to speech, meaning in our model, you're able to incorporate OpenAI's latest real-time API, which basically is a break from traditional speech to text, and then text to speech architecture.
Correct.
Instead, you just have like one model that's able to translate like an input speech into an output speech, right?
So you're
An
decreasing
advantage
latency there.
decreasing latency, the biggest advantage is actually not that, because latency in most use cases is not even that important. The biggest benefit is essentially multilingual abilities, right? Especially in the US, you have 10 to 20% of all people calling in probably are Latinos or Spanish speaking people. So imagine being able to seamlessly identify whether they're speaking English or Spanish and then answering them in either of those languages, right, without an accent. What we also have essentially is very powerful model to build complex conversations, right? So most voice AI products
Hmm.
usually work that you have one single prompt, right, where you enter all the instructions to AI agent.
Correct.
Instead, how we think about a conversation is as a series of conversation steps, and each step has its own prompt, and you kind of go from conversation step to conversation step, right? And you have very specialized instructions. This ensures that the AI will more likely stay on track, right? And it's also more manageable for you as the customer to see what's going on in the voice AI agent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then within each prompt, you're creating a flow, and then each different step, you're making the prompt more specialized for that particular step in the process,
Exactly.
and that's what gives it a more higher success rate and better thing versus giving a single prompt agent, and a
Hmm.
single prompt agent, it kind of can go off and then potentially hallucinate or get stuck on certain things.
100%. 100%.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. Do you give any of these agents different personalities based on where they are? As in, for example, you have a client in Los Angeles where there's a different type of culture. People are go-getters. There's not that much, asking how they are versus something in, let's say, Nashville, where it's a lot more personable. Do you look at any of those, and how do you go about creating
Yeah.
different products for those
I think a lot of it is to do with the tone and voice of the digital worker. So if we realize, hey, like client serves, let's say, only the south of the United States, right? And they want to have a southern accent, right? That's definitely something we would consider when choosing or setting up the voice and tone of the digital worker for them.
Yeah. So that is something you
Yeah,
integrate. And do you
yeah,
find that it's successful? Does it make a difference?
yeah, 100%, right? 100%.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So last question for you is, what advice do you have for small businesses? You're focused on most of the industries that are small businesses in your use cases, from what I've said. What advice do you have for them when switching over to voice AI?
Yeah.
Should they come in and expect 100% of their conversations to be handled by computer, a human to computer interaction? Or should they expect a decrease in those interactions, but still needing human interaction for certain scenarios?
Actually, at Leaping AI, we focus on mid-sized and larger call centers.
Okay.
So also with home remodeling, we usually focus on companies with at least 10, 15, $20 million of revenue, right? Not mom and pop shops. But in any case, so your question was regarding
Let's
specific.
expand it to small and mid market,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So in any case, your motivations should be very clear, right? So there are generally a couple of types of motivation. One is to reduce costs and fire people, and the other is to reduce the workload on people, and the other one is to actually make more business, right? If you're a very small shop and you have all the calls handled by a receptionist, it's actually very hard to reduce costs because you're paying for the AI provider and you have a receptionist. You probably can't fire the receptionist because they're doing some other stuff, right, as well, except for just calling.
Correct.
So essentially, you will end up with more costs, right? And that's why there is high churn in like the small business segment for voice AI because like if you go in with that motivation, right, you will not see the ROI and you will just churn from the solution. So the correct way, ideal way to think about it to make it make sense in the long term is to say, hey, look, I am willing to see that as an additional expense, right? And I'm hoping to get ROI, let's say, from calls that I previously missed outside of office hours, from calls
Mm,
where my receptionist is not there, right? And what you have to for let's stick with home remodeling. Every kitchen remodel could be a $15,000 job, right? And so missing one call means you lost potentially $15,000 of money, and that's probably 5 times what you're paying for the voice AI agent in that month, right? So even if the voice AI agent gets you one home remodeling job that you were previously not able to make, the ROI will be positive, right? Even though it costs more in the beginning. Now, if you're a larger call center, I think you can definitely make the cost optimization play where you say,
mhm.
hey, look, I have 30 people, right? With AI doing 50% of the work, do I still need 30 people? Can I use them somewhere else, right? Am I fine with a more right size setup, right? And so the larger the call center gets, I think the more you can make the cost argument, and the smaller it gets, you have to find some other arguments and have the right mindset to make it make sense for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially, for the small business, they can't expect much of a cost savings. Whether if they have just one person, it's
No,
really it's
yeah.
really more along the lines of
Essentially, there are no cost savings at all. If you have like 8 people in your company, right, and you have like one receptionist, or you yourself are answering the call, are you going to put yourself out of business? Like, no. Like you keep these people around because they're doing other things, right?
yeah,
It's going to be an additional cost.
additional cost, but it could also be they're using their time for other things and increasing
Hundred
their
percent.
revenue. Yeah,
100%. But then again, you need to have the foresight to think this way, right? You can't think in terms of headcount. Then you need to think in terms of productivity. Like, am I
correct.
able to get more things done, right, with the same number of people?
Awesome. Cool. Very good. Well, thanks for your time, Kevin. Really enjoyed the talk, and I think you have a unique solution
Thank you.
for the home remodeling market. There's a lot of choices out there right now, and it's
Yes.
very important for everyone to really understand how they differ, because I do see large differences in each of these different solutions in the voice AI space.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.